I've just returned from a classified briefing that left everyone in the room speechless, and what I'm about to tell you about 3IATLAS will fundamentally alter your understanding of what's coming toward Earth. Before we begin, I need you to do something critical. Comment your city name below and tell me if you've noticed anything unusual in the night sky lately. NASA is quietly mapping these observations, and your data matters more than you know. What I'm about to share may change the way you see humanity's place in the universe. 3 days ago, at exactly 4:47 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, every deep space monitoring station on Earth recorded the same impossible event. The interstellar object we've been tracking as 3IATLAS, a comet that originated from beyond our solar system, from the cold darkness between the stars, emitted a pulse. Not a natural outgassing, not a reflection of solar radiation. A pulse, structured, deliberate, artificial. And that pulse traveled through 400 million kilometers of space and penetrated Earth's core. I'm Dr. Michio Kaku. I'm a theoretical physicist. I've spent my entire career exploring the mathematics of the universe, searching for elegant equations that describe reality. I've always maintained that the cosmos operates on principles we can understand, measure, quantify, but what happened 3 days ago has shaken that certainty to its foundation. Because the data we're seeing doesn't just challenge our understanding of physics. It suggests that someone or something has been watching us far longer than we ever imagined. Let me take you back to how this began, because the story of 3IATLAS is not what you've been told. In August of 2019, the Atlas survey system in Hawaii detected an anomalous trajectory. At first, astronomers assumed it was another interstellar visitor, like Oumuamua before it. These objects, these cosmic wanderers that pass through our solar system from the vast emptiness between stars, they're rare, but not unprecedented. 3IATLAS was cataloged, its path calculated, and then, like so many distant objects, it faded from public attention. But it never faded from NASA's attention. I've seen the classified reports, the ones that never made it to press releases or scientific journals. 3IATLAS wasn't behaving like a comet. Its trajectory shifted 3 times in ways that violated our models of gravitational mechanics. Comets don't do that. They follow predictable orbits dictated by the gravitational wells of stars and planets. They don't course correct. They don't adjust, unless something inside them is making decisions. For 4 years, a coalition of space agencies tracked this object in silence. The European Space Agency, Roscosmos, NASA, even private aerospace corporations were brought into the fold. Their deep space telescopes aimed at this single point of light moving through the outer solar system. They watched, they measured, they ran simulations, and the more data they collected, the more disturbing the picture became. 3IATLAS was slowing down, not dramatically, not in a way that casual observation would detect. But when you account for gravitational dynamics, solar wind, the friction of interstellar dust, the math doesn't work. Objects in space don't decelerate without reason. They don't break. Yet 3IATLAS was losing velocity in a manner consistent with controlled propulsion. Then came the spectroscopic analysis. When we analyze the light reflected off celestial objects, we can determine their composition. We can see the chemical signature of ice, rock, metal, organic compounds. 3IATLAS showed all the expected markers of a comet: frozen volatiles, carbon compounds, silicates, but buried in the data was something else. An absorption line that didn't match any known element. A frequency signature that suggested molecular structures we've only theorized about in quantum computing laboratories. Room temperature superconductors, crystalline matrices capable of storing and processing information at scales we're only beginning to explore with our most advanced artificial intelligence systems. Someone on the analysis team joked that it looked like the comet was carrying a hard drive. Nobody laughed, because the joke was too close to what the data actually suggested. I remember the moment I first saw the electromagnetic readings. I was in my office at City College reviewing papers on string theory when I received an encrypted file from a colleague at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. No explanation, just a data set and a single line of text. We need your interpretation. The file contained 3 months of radio telescope observations focused on 3IATLAS. And there, repeating every 37 hours and 14 minutes, was a signal. Faint, barely distinguishable from cosmic background radiation, but structured. mathematical. A sequence of prime numbers followed by a pattern that mirrored the hydrogen line frequency, the most common electromagnetic signature in the universe and the same frequency we've been broadcasting into space for decades, hoping that intelligent life might recognize it as a universal constant. Someone was using our own language to talk to us. I sat in that office for 6 hours, running every natural explanation through my mind. Pulsar echo, magnetospheric interference, equipment malfunction, but none of it fit. Pulsars don't broadcast prime numbers. Interference doesn't maintain coherence across multiple observation platforms separated by thousands of kilometers. And every telescope, every receiver, every monitoring station that looked at 3IATLAS saw the same thing. That's when I understood we were dealing with technology, not a comet, not a natural phenomenon, but a constructed object moving through our solar system with purpose. The question that haunted me then, the question that still keeps me awake now, is simple and terrible. Purpose toward what? 3 weeks ago, 3IATLAS crossed the orbit of Mars, and the signal changed. The prime number sequence stopped. In its place came something far more complex, a data stream that our most advanced quantum computers are still struggling to decode. But we've made enough progress to understand fragments, and those fragments are terrifying. The signal contains star maps, thousands of them, precise positional data for stellar objects across multiple galaxies. It contains mathematical proofs for physics we haven't discovered yet, equations that describe the behavior of space-time at scales beyond our current comprehension. And it contains something else, something that multiple independent analysis teams have confirmed but that no one wants to publicly acknowledge. It contains a census. Not of stars, not of planets, but of civilizations, technological species distributed across the observable universe, cataloged with the same clinical precision that we use to map genetic sequences or catalog species on Earth. And next to each civilization is a designation, a status code. Most are marked as inactive, extinct, gone, failed evolutionary experiments that rose to sentience, developed technology, and then vanished, leaving behind nothing but radio echoes and orbital debris. Some are marked as emergent, species in their technological infancy, recently discovered, recently added to the catalog. And a handful, a terrifyingly small handful, are marked as ascended, civilizations that crossed some threshold, passed some cosmic test, and graduated into something beyond our comprehension. Humanity's entry in this census was updated 73 years ago. 1952, the year we detonated the first hydrogen bomb. The year our electromagnetic signature became impossible to ignore, broadcasting our presence across light years of space with the unmistakable declaration that we had mastered nuclear fusion, that we could harness the power of stars. That's when they started watching us. But 3 days ago, everything changed. Because 3 days ago, 3IATLAS sent its pulse. I was in Geneva, presenting at a conference on unified field theory, when my phone lit up with emergency alerts. 14 missed calls from NASA, 6 from colleagues in Japan, text messages from scientists I hadn't spoken to in years, all saying the same thing. Turn on the news. Something's happened. But there was nothing on the news. No breaking coverage, no emergency broadcasts, because the event happened below the threshold of public detection. It happened in the deep places where specialized instruments measure things that human senses cannot perceive. Seismographs across the planet registered an anomaly, not an earthquake, not tectonic movement, but a resonance, a harmonic frequency that originated not from Earth's crust, but from something passing through it, through the mantle, through the outer core, through the solid iron inner core, spinning at the center of our world. The pulse from 3IATLAS had somehow penetrated 6,000 kilometers of rock and metal as if they weren't there, and it left something behind. Our magnetometers are still going haywire. Earth's magnetic field, the invisible shield that protects us from solar radiation, that guides compasses, that migrates birds, navigate across continents, it's fluctuating, oscillating in patterns that match the signal structure from 3IATLAS, like an echo. Like Earth itself is ringing like a bell that's been struck, resonating with a frequency it wasn't meant to receive. I've seen classified footage from deep core monitoring stations, installations buried kilometers underground designed to detect neutrinos and dark matter particles. The sensors show something impossible. For 17 seconds, there was a coherent wave pattern moving through solid matter, through iron and nickel that should be impermeable. And that pattern carried information. We're still trying to extract it. But preliminary analysis suggests it's the same census data, the same catalog of civilizations, except this version, the version literally impressed into Earth's core, includes additional entries, instructions, not for building technology, not for scientific advancement, but for what comes next, a protocol, a set of conditions that must be met before, and I'm reading directly from the translated fragments here, before quarantine parameters can be adjusted. We're in a cosmic quarantine. Humanity, Earth, our entire solar system. We've been isolated deliberately by intelligences so far beyond us that we appear in their records the way bacteria appear in our microscopes. Interesting, potentially dangerous, requiring containment, and 3IATLAS is the warden checking on our cell. I need you to understand what this means. Every astronomer who's ever looked at the night sky and wondered why we haven't detected alien civilizations, every physicist who's pondered Fermi's paradox, asking where is everyone, we now have our answer. They're out there, millions of civilizations, billions perhaps, but they're separated, isolated, kept apart by a system so vast and so ancient that it spans galaxies. Some intelligence, or collective of intelligences, decided long ago that young species, violent species, species like us that have barely learned to leave our own planet, we need to be contained until we prove we won't destroy ourselves or threaten others. The pulse that hit Earth's core, it wasn't an attack. It was a measurement, a diagnostic, checking to see if we've evolved beyond our designation, if we've moved past the behaviors that got us quarantined in the first place. And I fear, based on what I'm seeing in the data, based on the responses being formulated by militaries around the world, based on the conversations happening right now in classified facilities about how to weaponize this discovery, I fear we're about to fail that test spectacularly. Because here's what terrifies me most. The census shows that most civilizations never make it out of quarantine. They remain isolated until they destroy themselves through war, environmental collapse, or technological catastrophe. The ones that do escape, the ascended civilizations, they all share certain characteristics in their data profiles. Unified global governance, post-scarcity resource distribution, the complete abandonment of nuclear weapons, a transition from competitive to cooperative social structures, and something the translation calls voluntary consciousness integration, which our best linguists and computer scientists think means merging individual minds into collective networks of shared awareness. They want us to stop being human in the way we currently understand humanity. They want us to become something else. I've spent my career believing that contact with extraterrestrial intelligence would be the greatest moment in human history, that it would unite us, inspire us, give us a cosmic perspective that would solve our petty conflicts and elevate our species to new heights of achievement. But this isn't contact, this is judgment. And the judges aren't asking if we're intelligent or creative or capable of building rockets and computers. They're asking if we're safe, if we can be trusted, if we've outgrown the violent territorial tribalism that characterizes every predator species that's ever evolved on any planet. And I look at our world, at our news cycles, at our weapons stockpiles, at the way we treat each other and our planet, and I don't know how to answer that question in a way that saves us. The pulse has stopped transmitting. 3IATLAS is moving away now, continuing its journey through the outer solar system toward interstellar space. The signal has gone quiet, but the data remains. Carved into Earth's core like a message in a bottle, like a warning label on a dangerous substance. NASA isn't telling you this. No government is. Because the moment they do, the moment the public learns that we're being watched, evaluated, contained by forces we can't comprehend or resist, everything changes. Every power structure, every economic system, every belief system that depends on humanity being the pinnacle of intelligence in the universe, it all collapses. So they're silent, studying the data, forming committees, holding meetings, trying to figure out what to do with information that invalidates everything we thought we knew about our place in the cosmos. But I can't be silent, Because this isn't just about governments or militaries or scientific institutions. This is about every human being who looks up at the night sky and wonders what's out there. You deserve to know. You deserve to know that we're not alone, that we've never been alone, that every star you see might host worlds where life emerged, evolved, built civilizations, and then either transcended or perished under the watch of intelligences that measure existence in timescales we can barely conceptualize. You deserve to know that the universe has rules we didn't write, standards we didn't set, and that we're currently failing to meet them. I think about my grandchildren. I think about what kind of world they'll inherit. Will they grow up in a humanity that learned from this revelation, that used it as a catalyst to finally put aside our differences and prove we're worthy of joining the larger cosmic community? Or will they inherit a world that responded with fear and aggression, that tried to weaponize what we don't understand, that doubled down on all the behaviors that got us quarantined in the first place? The choice is still ours, for now. But I don't know how much time we have. The ascended civilizations in that census, they didn't get there by accident. They made conscious choices to evolve beyond their base instincts, to prioritize collective survival over individual gain, to see themselves not as separate nations or tribes, but as single species with a shared destiny. We need to do the same. And we need to do it before 3IATLAS sends its final report back to whatever intelligence is maintaining this quarantine. Because if that report says we're still a threat, still violent, still unable to move past our primitive origins, I don't think we'll get another chance. The pulse that hit Earth's core, it wasn't just measurement, it was a reminder, a notification that we're being graded, that our evolutionary exam is ongoing, and that the universe doesn't care about our excuses or our potential. It only cares about what we actually do, who we actually become. I've been asked what I think we should do, what I think the global response should be, and my answer is simple but impossibly difficult. We need to become the civilization we've always claimed we could be, the one we write about in our science fiction, the one we dream about when we imagine humanity's future among the stars. We need to prove that we learned something from 3IATLAS, that we're listening, that we're changing, that we deserve to have that quarantine lifted, not because we've built better weapons or faster ships, but because we've built a better version of ourselves. If you're watching this, if you've followed this journey into the deepest mystery humanity has ever faced, then you're part of what comes next. Share this knowledge. Discuss it, question it. Let it change you the way it's changed me. Follow this channel as we continue decoding the universe's final warnings, because I promise you, this story is far from over. The census is still being updated. Earth's core is still resonating with that ancient signal. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, 3IATLAS continues its journey, carrying our data back to judges we cannot see. I'm Michio Kaku. I'm a physicist who no longer believes physics alone can save us, because the equation we need to solve isn't written in mathematics. It's written in choice, in consciousness, in the daily decisions that billions of humans make about who we want to be. And I'm asking you now, as someone who's seen the data, who understands what's at stake, who knows that we're running out of time, what will you choose? Will you be part of the humanity that remains in quarantine, isolated and afraid until we inevitably destroy ourselves? Or will you be part of the humanity that evolves, that transcends, that finally grows up enough to join the universe's other ascended civilizations? The pulse has been sent, the measurement has been taken, and somewhere in a place we cannot yet reach, our results are being analyzed. Tell me, when they review Earth's data, when they look at what we've become in the years since that pulse struck our core, what do you think they'll see? What do you want them to see? Comment below, not just your city, but your answer to that question, because I genuinely believe that the universe is listening, that consciousness itself is the technology they're measuring, and that every thought, every choice, every moment of compassion or cruelty adds to the signal we're broadcasting into the cosmos. We are the message. We are the pulse. And the question that will determine humanity's survival isn't whether we can understand alien technology or decode cosmic transmissions. It's whether we can finally understand ourselves.